Hallo Leute, ich bin Jesse und bin ich in meinem Auto. Und ihr seht Deutsch für euch.
Today's prefix is actually the last inseparable prefix. Not the last prefix overall, because we still have the ones to go that can go both ways, so to speak, but the last one of the inseparable ones, which I'm personally very happy about. So let's get right into zergehen, to melt away or to dissolve slowly. There's also the expression sich etwas auf der Zunge zergehen lassen, which means to savor something, and that doesn't necessarily have to be food. You can also use it metaphorically. So you could, I don't know, in that sense you could savor a view of a beautiful landscape. Sich die Landschaft auf der Zunge zergehen lassen. It sounds a bit weird literally, but you can say that. Etwas zerlassen, to melt something down slowly. So this is kind of the active partner to zergehen. So when you zerlassen something, you are causing it to zergehen. Etwas zerlegen, to disassemble something, to take something apart, and by extension to destroy something. The mental image that I think is most fitting is to take apart something that you built with Legos. But it's usually, or not usually, but it's used a lot colloquially to mean that somebody destroyed something of yours by basically breaking it down to its parts. Zerfallen, to disintegrate, to decompose if it's organic material that decomposes over time, or to fall apart. Zerbrechen, to break apart or to break into pieces. And, of course, you can also use this transitively, so etwas zerbrechen means to break something apart. So to break it, not just put a fracture in it or something, but to actually break it and now it's in pieces. Zerfließen, to melt down quickly, to dissolve, to kind of run into liquid. So butter could both zergehen and zerfließen, depending on how quickly it goes, basically. Also, people like to use this colloquially when somebody is crying so hard that it looks like they're melting away. Sie hat so sehr geweint, sie ist förmlich zerflossen. Etwas zerkleinern, to break something up into smaller pieces. The size of the pieces doesn't matter, it basically just means take this and make it smaller. Make it into smaller pieces. And essentially you can use it to refer to anything that would take something apart. So when you chop an onion, you could say Zwiebel schneiden, but you could also say die Zwiebel zerkleinern. Etwas zerkratzen, to scratch something all over, to basically scratch it into destruction. Etwas zerreißen, to rip something apart, to rip something into pieces. This verb is also used metaphorically to refer to the act of harshly criticizing something. So if critics tear down a piece of art or media, they would zerreißen it. Ich fand das Buch gar nicht schlecht, aber die Kritiker haben es zerrissen. Also, if somebody gets into really, really bad trouble, usually with somebody that is higher in some sort of hierarchy, they could be in der Luft zerrissen. So to be torn apart in the air. Jemanden in der Luft zerreißen. And lastly, etwas zerstören, to destroy something. There's a noun that goes with that, die Zerstörung, destruction, die Zerstörung. Now, before we get to the general meaning of zer, let me remind you of my Patreon. I've recently updated the rewards, so by now it's a bit more differentiated, a bit more differentiated than it used to be. Basically, if you go over there, pledge anything from $1 up, you can get charts and little extras to help you understand my episodes better. And if you pledge any amount from $5 upwards, you can get the scripts for all of my episodes, including the scripts for these prefix episodes, which have more examples, all of the verbs that I use, and also more verbs with the prefix, so you get a better sense of it. And all grammar scripts from before. So if you're interested in that, go check out my Patreon. It's always linked in the description, and read up on what you could pledge for what there. Thank you. Zer, like I said, is our last inseparable prefix. And unlike most inseparable prefixes, it's actually fairly straightforward, easy to explain, and unified in its meaning. So, zer always destroys something, makes it come undone, makes it not be what it was before. My hand motion for zer is definitely this, because nothing describes it better than this. And I would be willing to bet that most Germans would associate this movement with zer. So zer is always apart. That's why in a lot of the verbs that it translates into in English, you will find the word apart or the words into pieces, because that's what a lot of zer verbs mean, to take something apart, to destroy it. And even more beautifully, like I just hinted at already, it's very reliable in this meaning. So that means whenever you see a verb that is prefixed by zer, you can be sure that something is no longer in existence, or at least not what it used to be, as in it's probably no longer whole. And that's it for today. Your random word of the week is der Scherzkeks. Now, Scherzkeks literally translates to joke cookie, and though that may not seem intuitive, I think it's one of those typically German compounds that once you know what it means, you kind of get the idea behind it. You call somebody a Scherzkeks when they're always kind of a jokester, they always have kind of the next quip on their lips, and you could call it a minor insult. For example, you could use it when you're annoyed at somebody constantly being too goofy, but I think it's a term of endearment. At least that's what I'm going to sell it as here. So this is going to be the last video before Christmas, and it might very well be the last video of the year. Maybe I'll surprise myself and you by making another video zwischen den Jahren, between the years, as we say. We'll see. Don't get your hopes up, otherwise I'll see you next year. And the one thing I can definitely say for certain already is Frohe Weihnachten. And bis dann. Tschüss!